it's Stewart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansion's news podcast for the third week of January 2015.
Wow, zipping along.
Still January.
It's still zipping.
Now, do you remember what I said in the training class this past week? I said that there were some supposedly alien documents that were discovered a couple of hundred years ago, and on the documents it showed that there were 13 planets
I remember.
in our solar system. And that there were some big ones out way past.
Yes, I remember you saying all that.
Well, the next day, after I announced that in the class, there was a story on the news that says NASA discussed evidence that there are at least 2 planets larger than the Earth lurking in our solar system beyond Pluto, and it's probably more.
I think they had secret microphones planted in our class and were listening to you.
Oh, it might be in my body somewhere.
That could be too.
And they said that the exact number is uncertain, but given the data that they have, there are at least 2 planets and probably more within the confines of our solar system. But that's an interesting term, because supposedly if these objects are past the Kuiper belt or Oort belt, they're not in the confines of our solar system. So what NASA is really saying here is that our solar system is bigger than they are originally said.
You know, they had a thing on the internet for a while saying our continents were not correct.
Correct, that
And
Africa
now,
is actually bigger than they...
Yeah, back and forth. So now they're doing this to us. So who knows what they're going to change.
And it says, with the current instruments available to science, it's nearly impossible to spot these objects. Okay, so let's look at that. They're talking about Earth-like planets they've seen millions of light years away, but they can't see these planets in our own solar system.
Yeah, they can't find a plane.
Something's wrong with this story.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's all about mind control of the population, obviously.
So now a story back down to Earth. And you remember all of the riots that we had in the U.S. last summer with Ferguson and New York and all that stuff that was going on. Well, you know who was funding all of that?
I'm almost afraid to ask.
Well, don't be afraid, because it was none other than that old financial billionaire businessman, George Soros, who was originally from Hungary. And he's apparently funding a race war, and gave over $33 million towards it.
Wow.
But it's interesting how he does it, because he gives money to leftist groups to create anti-cop protests that don't make any sense given the economic conditions of the people in that area. And this billionaire gave $33 million just last year alone. He has built a business empire that dominates both in U.S. or North America and Europe. And he creates political machines that are powered by nonprofit foundations which affect American policies and politics. And he's the one who spurred on the Ferguson protest through funding and mobilizing groups across the United States, and this has actually been documented by the Washington Times.
Well, I think that's good, because there are a lot of people behind these so-called protests, which we've been telling people for years, that it's not the people out there, it's troublemakers, so to speak.
He's funding online social media campaigns, and he has funded all kinds of organizations like the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference in Chicago, Drug Policy Alliance, Make the Road New York, and Equal Justice USA, the Sojourners, the Advancement Project, and Center for Community Change in Washington, and especially something called the Gamaliel Foundation, which he funded, and guess who used to be part of that?
It's hard to say.
Mr. Obama. Yes.
Well, they all just do whatever their handlers tell them, so somebody probably told him that this is what you have to do and where your money has to go. I'm sure he's not the only one.
Well, apparently these foundations have a total of $3 billion in assets that he is giving them. And it fueled the demonstrations in Ferguson by the Gamaliel Foundation, and it created interreligious and interracial organizations, again of which Obama started his career in those organizations in Chicago. And apparently it's under the guise of trying to create equality for the poor black people who are being shot at and all that. But in effect, it's creating riots and anarchy, which is what he really is trying to do.
And racism and division, which I've been talking about for quite some time.
And this is interesting because he also helped to finance the Millennial Activist United, or MAU, and they have on their website that they're partnered with the Gamaliel Network of Churches, and they receive training on civil disobedience. So they learn how to be civilly I could tell them how to be disobedient.
Well, maybe they mean training on how to handle civil disobedience.
That's not kind of
what it says?
No. So I think he's like 190 years old. I think he needs to go back to Hungary.
Now somebody else will take over for him. I mean, they're all instructed from the top down on what to do and how to do.
And he could take Kissinger with him.
No, Kissinger's part of the issue.
We should kiss Kissinger goodbye. Now, to the West Coast. And there was in June 1997, a Hollywood screenwriter mysteriously vanished. His name was Gary DeVore. He was the writer for The Raw Deal and Time Cop, and he had just finished a script alleging ulterior motive for the U.S. invasion of Panama. And his body was found a year later in a California aqueduct. But guess what?
What?
His hands were missing, and his script was never found.
That's horrible.
And there was a widespread speculation that the CIA was connected to his death, like duh. And now there's a former White House official who has confirmed that DeVore was working with the CIA in Panama. And then guess what they found when they analyzed his car?
I wouldn't have a clue.
They finally found his hands, and they did an autopsy on them, and you know what the coroner said? The hands were 200 years old. You can't make this up, people.
Well, then obviously they weren't his hands. Or were they?
Like maybe he was like Saint Germain or something.
Maybe he
son
was
of Saint Germain.
I know, maybe he was one of those aliens that have been down here watching the world.
Well, it gets a little thicker.
And thicker than that?
Yes. I need you to calm down so I can finish the story. But he was on his way to deliver the film script to someone when he disappeared. Originally it said his death was accidental.
No,
he accidentally cut off his hands, which caused the car to crash.
And left them in his car.
Yeah. And investigators could find no plausible explanation as to how the car could leave the highway and end up in the position it was found a year later after he disappeared.
Well, then I guess after he cut off his own hands, he couldn't drive the car, and then he wandered off to the aqueduct and died.
Well, there's a new documentary out. It has a really interesting name. You know what the name of it? It's called The Writer with No Hands. And in it, they reveal these theories about what happened to him. And also shows the coroner revealing that the human hands were, in fact, 200 years old. Now, this DeVore, this guy, this writer, was once a truck driver, and he made a successful career shift into Hollywood. I don't say exactly how.
Now, that's what I would say. How?
And guess who his friends were?
He
was friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tommy Lee. He was Tommy Lee Jones' best man, and he was the ex-boyfriend of Janet Jackson.
You know, I've heard other stories about people who are truck drivers and so forth, and they're really Illuminati spies that hide out amongst small communities. Well, so they're not who people think they are.
But Hollywood is not a small community. But it says here that the story he was writing is about American operatives robbing a Panamanian bank to cover up something much more serious. And it looks like the Pentagon planned the bank robbery, and the war was a diversion.
Well, that makes sense.
And it said that the dictator of Panama, Manuel Noriega, had compiled a stash of sex tapes featuring top-ranking U.S. officials.
There you go.
Kind of reminds me of the Prince Andrew story.
Well, this one sounds like even bigger.
And it says, according to this article, that Noriega ran what they called a honey trap, which invited diplomats to his home, and his house was filled with alcohol, drugs, beautiful women and beautiful men, and covertly filmed their antics. Yeah. Now, do you remember, a long time ago, when I was working in Orlando, who my client was?
Wasn't it his girlfriend?
Noriega's girlfriend. And she basically told me stories like this. Of course,
we knew other people.
and she was worried about her life.
Yeah, but we knew other people involved as well.
Now, according to DeVore's widow, Wendy, there was a constant stream of phone calls from CIA officials in the months before he died. And she said he was dealing in things that you're not necessarily supposed to deal in. And she found out a lot of people in Hollywood had these connections with the CIA and knew things that will never be made public. And now here's a shocker.
None of that's really a shocker.
Yeah, here's another one. The CIA declined to comment.
Yeah, well,
that's surprising.
I'm surprised they even mentioned them.
And now a former White House official from the Reagan and George Bush era have confirmed to the documentary producer that DeVore harbored a deep-rooted relationship with the agency, CIA, and traveled with officials to Central America, including Panama. And so obviously his death was a cover-up. But there, you see, cutting his hands off and replacing them with those old ones, that's an Illuminati symbolic
That's ritual
thing.
of some
That's
kind.
a ritualistic thing. So that's all I have today because I was so busy with the class.
Yeah, I don't have a lot either because of the class, but I have a few things that are interesting that, again, I kind of study the trends that are going on within society. One trend that you and I have talked about, and now other people are commenting on, is the fact that Ebola seems to be like totally disappearing.
Yeah, but they'll find something else, don't worry.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like all the hype, and now it's like, what happened, right? So that I notice is very much absent from the news, and as I said, other people commenting. This one I found a bit interesting. This kind of piggybacks on our ISIS information, that there is now something called the SpaceX Dragon capsule.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Have you heard that? It's a drone landing ship, and it has successfully attached itself to ISS, International Space Station. So again, I just want to look at the symbolism of the Dragon capsule attaching to ISIS up in space. So keep that one in mind. Now this one also I found extremely interesting. I don't know if you had a chance to read this one, about Russia banning transgender people from getting driver's licenses.
Yes, I've heard about that.
And apparently they are considering certain things disorders. So among them are transgender people and people who are homosexual. So they will not be allowed to get a license, as well as people who have things like fetishism, voyeurism, exhibitionism. They will not allow those people to get licenses.
Look, I wouldn't be able to drive in Russia.
And then they said, listen to this one, people shorter than 4'11" cannot get a driver's license.
Because they can't see over the steering wheel.
But they have devices that help them drive.
Wait a second. Have you ever driven in Russia? Well, you have with me once in St. Petersburg that time.
Yeah, but that was many years ago.
You know how they drive.
But I'm just telling you that these are things that, here in the U.S. we make, the physical things we make compensation for, and the other,
Well, that means there can't be any alien drivers.
And listen to this, amputees can no longer get a driver's license. And then these are other reasons, pathological gambling and compulsive stealing. They will not allow you to get a license.
I could actually see that, because if you're a compulsive gambler, you might take chances on the road.
Well, but my issue is still, think how many people they're going to take off of the road and for what reason. That's what I'm wondering, is what's the main reason behind this.
Having driven in Russia, I think taking those people,
homosexuals and transgenders.
Their reasons are not good, but the less drivers are better for them.
Well, yes, but still, people can't get around. It's a big country. You have to be able to.
Yes, the roads don't really go anywhere.
They said that the global human rights groups that describe the bans are as discriminatory, and the wording of the rule is too vague. So I'm just going to have to watch. There's a reason. This is a big population of people to cut out. So there's a reason. We just have to wait and see what it is.
Most of them can't afford cars anyway.
Most people can't afford cars.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah. All right, then this was the other very strange one. There's an 18-year-old who was estranged from her father beginning when she was about 5. And she found him after about 12 years. And they began having a sexual relationship and started dating and have done so since she was 16, apparently.
Where did that take place?
In New York.
No. Not
Yeah.
like West Virginia or Mississippi?
No, this is actually in New York. And she said that she and her father plan on having children.
Ah,
And she said that everyone on my mom's side of the family sees us as father and daughter. Those who know that he's my dad and that we are engaged, including my father's parents, are happy that they're together and they can't wait for us to have babies.
okay, these are sick, mentally
They
ill
treat
people.
us just like
They should not have driver's license.
just like any other couple, the woman we live with and my best friend. So maybe it's a threesome, I don't know. But now listen to this. This I did not know. Apparently incest is legal in New Jersey.
Like, duh.
You knew that?
Housewives of New Jersey, look what happens to them.
I don't know anything
People in New
about
Jersey
that.
are insane.
No, I don't know anything about them. I just did not know that. So anyway, she said that her father conceived her on his prom night when he was 18.
Yeah, they sound like real high-class people.
So apparently he must be like 36 and she's 18.
Yeah.
And then they plan to have a large family and that she's not worried about their kids having genetic problems because,
really?
quote, that happens when there's years of inbreeding like with the royal family.
Okay.
So they brought that in. Then she adds, quote, that incest has been around as long as humans have and everybody just needs to deal with it, unquote. And let's see. There was a researcher in Wired in 2010 that says, speculated, quote, incest taboos exist to counter the primitive tendency of people who resemble their kin, so they're drawn to each other.
Okay, so if you look at the main points in the story, she's dating her father, who conceived her when he was 18 years old. They want to have children and live in New Jersey, okay? Do you have to say any more?
But you know, it doesn't matter. People all
Who
over
wants to live in New Jersey?
Well, people all over the world and all kinds of cultures do not condone incest. I mean, it's just nobody condones incest unless, you know, you have, I'm sorry, a low intelligence, in my opinion.
Okay, they need to be dropped in Syria.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that story to me was more about transforming the family and breaking things up.
I think that, I hope it's a fake story.
No, it's not according to this. I researched it as much as I could, and from what I can tell, it's surreal. It was on Fox News, and it was in USA Today. So there's reason that they're putting this out there. We just have to watch to see what the trends are. So that's really all the news I have today. As you said, we were very busy with our class this past week, and it was a great group of people.
It was a good group.
And you know, this happens every year. We have people now wanting to know about January 2016.
A year in advance?
We are. So we have set the dates.
We did? Nobody told me.
Well, Patricia and I had to set the dates.
I did not get that memo.
No, because people have already, I mean, just finished yesterday and she's already getting emails for people wanting to know about January 2016.
Well, there might be a problem with that.
What?
Well, now that I am a movie
star?
star, I may not be available.
Well, I may have to do it myself because I probably won't be a movie star with you. I'll just have to wave it to you as you wave at me.
I'll be like Janet who?
Yeah, that's probably what will happen. Well, anyway, so if you're interested in the 2016 class, it will be listed on the site. We usually don't promote it until it gets closer. So if you're interested, don't forget about it. It will be listed on the site with the dates. Contact Patricia. Some people want to start payment plans because it's an expensive class. It's a 7-day class, and it's a long class, and it's a very deep and detailed class. So we usually have people from all over the world that attend, and we do a smaller group. So if you're interested in the class,
And the food is really good.
food is always amazing.
Food is very good. I gained a lot of weight this week.
Yeah, you don't look like it.
Did,
you look just as perfect as ever.
Well, I know.
Yeah, and your hair is just as magnificent as ever.
I know, and I was really, not surprised that one of our guests, who is a famous musician with long hair,
From the Art of Dying. We won't mention Tavis's name.
Mention that his name is Tavis Stanley, but he was so jealous of my hair.
I know, it happens every year.
He was staring at my hair.
I think that's the only reason he
wanted
came.
to touch it.
Yeah, that's the only reason he came was because he just had to see for himself.
Yeah. It's like I said to him, get over it.
Yeah.
You're not going to look like me ever.
Yeah, so it's been upsetting for him, I know.
It is. It's like he was so upset.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a great group of people, as always. And if you're interested, please let Patricia know. If you want to make your payments, up front to reserve your place, let Patricia know. Then we have amazing events, as always.
Yeah, I wrote them down here.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to.
Just in case you would forget.
Because they're just so amazing. So continue with the 2016 theme. In that summer, right now our plans are to return to Bosnia.
To live?
Well, you never know with us.
Oh.
I love Bosnia. I could live
I'll
in
have to
Bosnia.
start learning Bosnian.
They have amazing food and the people are wonderful. And I love the pyramids.
Yep.
So, and you have
half of it in your bedroom.
Yeah, I carried some of it home. Don't tell Dr. Osmanagic.
She stole half the pyramid. I don't know how she got through security.
Well, now I might not be able to, but at that time I did. So anyway, Dr. Osmanagic will be our guest speaker in one of our guest speakers in our October conference, Hidden Histories and Mysteries Digging Deeper. So you'll want to be sure and attend, as well as Mary Sutherland, who's in Burlington, Wisconsin. She has also fascinating research, and she has doing research on pyramids in the lake, the Great Lakes area, as well as local history and mystery. So her information is very good as well. She'll be speaking. And then we have August 2015. We're working on putting together a radionics workshop for you. Probably be about 4 days, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know.
Because they need to have training with their machines. I mean, when they leave, they need to make sure that they know how to use their machines. So it will be on frequency. It will be frequency based. So the radionics will be a big part of that. And then we have, moving backwards. What's that? Get me to writing.
That's April.
Yeah. It doesn't look like April. It looks like Intrepid or something.
But maybe it is.
Or Insect.
Maybe it is.
Anyway, in April we have Addicted to Addictions, Get Hooked on Health Instead. And then moving up this way, we have Free Your Mind Conference. Stewart will be presenting at. And Pennsylvania. And they have a coupon code. If you put expansions in, you get $20 off your ticket. Then we have Stewart in.
See how far. I mean, you want to go backwards on that whole trip, or just start from the beginning?
No, let's go backwards because that is fun.
All right. Well, then I guess you have to start with Taipei.
We have Taipei. You're going to be doing a spiritual
tour with the Japanese people.
Okay.
I asked the princess to come.
Is she? You don't know yet?
She doesn't know yet.
All right. Then we have Vienna.
I told her she doesn't.
You'll be doing a seminar. Then Wrocław, Poland.
Wrocław.
Oh, Wrocław.
It's called Wrocław. You Americans.
Poland, and we're doing a seminar there.
And a TV show.
In Wrocław.
In Wrocław.
All right, and then we have
Prague.
Prague, that's when you'll be going to be working on another documentary.
My next film. My next film
will be there about a week filming. Of course, the Montauk movie is officially the world premiere at the Philip K. Dick Festival. So we're waiting to hear how that went.
Yeah, and it was spoken about on New York NBC.
Yeah, NBC Today News. It was on there.
And you said 800,000 people saw that segment.
Roughly. And then we have our webinars, a great series of webinars in March is going to be about the animal mind, the human animal mind, which people don't really understand that, and how the Illuminati / global handlers use that to, twist you around. Then we have in February, we're going to be doing one on fasting and detoxification, as well as a webinar, a 3-day group fast, which I did a couple years ago. It was very successful, and people love doing those kind of things together because they learn so much.
And then I have the radio shows coming up.
Yeah, I don't have those written down, but you'll have to look at them.
I forgot.
January 21, you have one.
Oh, I do.
You have a couple.
And February 6th.
And we have one on, that one we'll be doing together. That one's bad.
Which one?
February 6th is about Bad Baby.
Ooh.
Talk Shoe.
Bad Babies.
Talkshoe.com. I can't remember the one on January 21st. So watch our site.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
And then in a couple of weeks, we have one on cult and abusive relationship recovery. So we deal with a lot of people who come to us because of situations they've had in their outside life and they want us to help them. It's called exit counseling, although we are not counselors by trade. We are.
We kind of are. Not
really. You have to be licensed for that, and you have to be formally schooled. So we're not. We're experts and consultants. So based on our life experiences and from a number of people that we have worked with and our own experiences. So anyway, that's going to be an amazing webinar as well. So watch the website. Always interesting and fascinating things. Please like our Facebook fan pages. Invite your friends to like them. Help us raise our Google status up, please.
And you're going to be doing more cooking podcasts?
Yeah, I've been doing quite a few of them here lately. And with the snow and all the things outside, it's put me in that cooking mode.
Well, I want you to make some stuff I really like.
I always make stuff you really like. Everything you love, I make.
Mostly.
Right? No, everything. Can think of anything that ever made you didn't like?
I'll think of something.
Yeah. Well, think hard.
Yeah.
All right, so is that it?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.